All right, we are live. Welcome. I am your host, Neil D'Souza, and this is Magic Mondays. All right, guys, I'm so excited today because, you know, the wizards of Ontario real estate are hard at work. And, of course, I brought with me my secret assassin, the ninja, Jason Vaz, as always. Jason.
What's up, everyone? What's up?
And then, of course, we've got the myth, Marlon Mortgages. Come on, Marlon, where are you at?
What's going on, boys? What's going on? I'm here.
Marlon's like, so we got Jason is the real estate ninja, and we got Marlon who's like Delta Force. So
hey, Delta's a bad word now. We can't say that anymore.
Oh, sorry. It might trigger variant. It might trigger a YouTube response and lock us out. But guys, on today's show, we're going to be talking about rent to own, and I know you're looking forward to that. We're looking forward to talking about that too, because what is that looking like in this market? What do we know about rent to own? Is it a good way for us to be able to buy a house? Are you completely out of the market if you haven't bought already? Well, we're going to be talking about all those things with our special guest. We'll be bringing Mark on in a little bit, but before we get into that, let me just bring in my co-host and just ask them, hey guys, how was the weekend for you guys? Are you guys ready to go today? Anything you guys want to say?
I had a fantastic weekend. August is a slower month for us realtors, so any type of downtime that we take time to ourselves is usually done in August. So I was able to reconnect with a friend of mine that I haven't seen in 3 years, so I was super excited for that. And the Delta variant has already tackled our season. Thankfully, hopefully the Delta variant's not transferable through stream. So anyway, but yeah, fantastic weekend. We had some great weather.
I'm choking on live TV, and this man, the ninja's laughing at me. All right, love it. Marlon, what's going on with you? Do you hit any patios this weekend?
I went on to a boat cruise around the Toronto Harbor for a realtor event. That was pretty good. And then Saturday morning, I went all the way up to Brantford to float on the Grand Bend River. And so, it's pretty good. Just check it out.
Love it. Well, guys, okay, we're not going to waste any time. Today, we have a special guest for you on our show to talk about all things rent to own. Now, our guest, Mark Vosylius, is president and managing partner of Core Realty Partners. He's been in the game for many years, and he's been through different cycles. He's been through different types of investments. He's going to talk to us today about rent to own, and our Ninja and Delta Force are going to be asking questions as well for you. Feel free to bring it in on the chat, whatever you'd like to ask. And we want to get a robust conversation about the topic of rent to own. So without further ado, let me bring in the man, Mark Vosylius. Mark, great to have you with us today.
Hey guys, how's it? Yeah, I hear you're all doing good. You had a great weekend, I hear. So yeah, sounds good. Let's get into this thing. You guys got a lot of energy. That's good.
Yeah, well, Mark, listen, we, I just shared with people, a little bit of your background, and if you guys want to learn more about Mark, I actually did we did over an hour. We talked on my podcast, the Leadership to Wealth podcast, and if you really want to get to know more about Mark, then just jump on there. You can find us on YouTube, the Leadership to Wealth podcast, and check out Mark's interview. You get all sorts of juicy stuff on Mark. But for right now, we're going to talk about rent to own. So Mark, let's just get this kicked off.
Sure.
And because you've been in real estate a long time, and I love that you got the guitar in the background because you've been in music even longer. But
about the same. 20 years for each.
There you go. So do you want to tell us anything about your music career before we get into how you're a rock star in real estate?
Rockstar in real estate. Well, there's a few company names you're throwing around already in there. But I certainly, the only connection I can see, you guys, is the creativity part. Applying the creativity of music into putting deals together. And you two guys would agree that putting, whether you're doing an APS or whether you're doing a mortgage and you're doing your underwriting, you got to get creative. So that's the only thing, that's the only connection I can see, is structuring deals and looking at real estate in a creative way is really how I ended up in the rent-to-own space. I mean, I do a lot of other things, but the rent-to-own space is what we're talking about today. But there you go. There's a great connection. Rent-to-own is a result of thinking, the curve of the real estate curve we're in. How can we make money in real estate as investors? I'm speaking as an investor. But for those that are wanting to buy their first property, I'm sure there's some challenges out there, right? So thinking creatively on how to finance first-time buyers, how to finance new immigrants into Canada, how to finance self-employed people, getting into the home market. So I think that's an important thing. I do want to. Real estate has been so good to me, and I want everybody to own a piece of Canada. I think it's a wonderful thing. So,
okay. So question number one: what is rent? What is a rent to own?
So basically, in the basic form, a rent to own is where the buyer does not have enough down payment, or is creditly challenged, or has been turned down, but they so want a particular home. Our company will buy that home for them, finance everything, the whatever. Normally, if they have 3% to 5% down, so let's say on a $500,000 home, that would be $25,000. So we'll top up, we'll buy that home for them, and usually then the simple process, they rent it from us with a guaranteed purchase price 3 to 4 years down the road, and everything is established before they sign any contracts. And so we encourage complete transparency on how that works, but that's basically it in a nutshell. We buy it for them. During that 3 years, we actually have a forced savings so that when they buy it, they have their down payment. We actually force them because they want a certain home. Get them into that home. We say, guys, we want you to buy that home from us. We force them to have a portion of their rent that goes back towards the purchase of the home. And that's how it's done in a nutshell.
Now you're not really forcing them. I mean, because they're actually saying, "Hey, this is what we want to do. We want to be able to buy this house." And so what you're saying is that there is a portion that they are actually saving towards intentionally, and that's the plan. They're working towards being able to buy it.
Right, for sure. They can't afford a home now, but we're saying 4 years from now you can. And then we put that plan together for them. And with that is a portion of their rent goes towards the down. Their 25 is always included. We just add to that so that they get their 50,000 down. And in the time, they're living in the home they want. They can upgrade it. All the appreciation for that goes to them. So we believe it to be a pretty revolutionary program. So we set up a whole financing. We call it a rent-to-own bank, so to speak, where we supply the mortgage and like through a private lending, and then we do the equity as well.
Wow. Okay. And one of our viewers, Matt here. Matt says creative financing to expand the real estate portfolio. He loves it. He loves what you're creating already. Marlon, I think you've got a question for Mark.
Yeah, I got a question, Mark. So, I mean, in the past, I've done a couple of rent-to-own financings, on the back end when the client's ready to buy. Typically, from what I've seen, you talk about putting away some money for the client for the down payment. Typically, I've seen around 5%, and sometimes that just doesn't cut it on the time of financing on the back end. So I'm just wondering, in your experience, what amount of down payment do you not force, but structure in the deal for them to put away for the down payment? And what other measures are there to ensure they're saving even more on top of that to make sure they have enough down payment to qualify in the back?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, Marlon. And the truth is, we do not go into a deal where we're not going to make sure we're exiting, because for our sake, we have investors and they want to exit. So part of our deal is we make sure that they have at least 10% down to buy it. And then we would begin, and I'm sure you as a mortgage agent will know that we would begin working with their credit rating over those 4 years if there's a credit issue, so that well in advance of the exit where you would come in, we probably would have hopefully prepared a mortgage for them. And 10% is the minimum, by the way, we would look at.
That's amazing, because I mean, I like the structure that you guys have set up, because some of the ones I've seen in the past is they just get them to save the 5% and they just leave them hanging. And they're on the assumption, I come to Marlon now and I can qualify for this. Right. And unfortunately, that's where some of this stuff has maybe gotten a bad name in the past. So I'm glad to see, people like Core Real Estate and yourself are actually have a full program and structure from start to finish that will help the end user and the investor. It's a win-win for everybody.
Right. It is a partnership, Marlon, where we're buying the home. These people need to recognize that we want them to take care of the home and we want them to buy it from us. We're not just looking to make rent, because 98% of the money they give us pays for the home, actually pays towards the mortgage and different things that we've had to structure. So it's in the exit that everybody, we're looking at it. I'm looking at it from an investment standpoint, where we would partner with first-time buyers that are struggling. We want them to buy this home from us. So we're encouraging any strategy or method to make sure that happens. The exit is really the whole purpose of this. Buying it is not where the money is, where no one benefits. It's the exit, that they get the home they want. That is our end goal.
Amazing. I love it.
Jason, you got a question?
Quick question. So, in my opinion, obviously this is quite attractive to first-time home buyers. This year they've been taking a beating. We've got first-time home buyers that have, scrounged together a down payment, gotten all the paperwork in line, and then, the nature of the market is we're in bidding wars no matter what, and they're settling for what they want if they're able to get stuff. And with rising prices, where June was, July is outpacing June, August is probably going to outpace July. A lot of them are being pushed into the rental space. So I can see where this is quite attractive to them. But my question for this is, say you've got someone that's got, maybe they had 20% to put down, but now their 20% really represents about, 15%, and they just can't edge over. Do you think this would be a good program for someone like that, where they're able to secure the spot that they want, they execute the sale at a later date, but they get the enjoyment of the home today? Would you say that would be would you say this is a part? For
sure. I mean, the program is designed for people that have some amount of down payment. Like, we're not, like Jason or Marlon, you were mentioning that, they barely could save 5% after 4 years. We can't even begin this program unless you have probably 5% already. So to your question, Jason, if they've got 15, we're only looking at then a 5%. And for us as partners, we would partner with this homeowner. We would say, then all you need to save is 5%. Let's buy the home for you now. Yeah. Let's create the paperwork so that everybody wins. And then at the end of 2 or 3 years, you'll have that. And now you'll have your 20%. So we would encourage that. We would put in the program a 5% savings, so that they get the home they want now, and then they're also saving that extra 5% to purchase it from us. So that is actually the perfect scenario, is where they have a fair bit down. Most people have barely 5% down. Yeah. But I do appreciate what you're saying, for sure.
That's where I see it kind of really, because let's face it, pricing in Ontario has hit a critical mass where it's become more of a luxury to own real estate than it is a right. It's not a rite of passage anymore. It's not the, go to school, get a good job and buy a house. That it's kind of gone like, maybe you buy, maybe you don't. Maybe you're lucky, maybe you're not. So I feel like this kind of bridges that gap a bit, where it gives those people, but I think people that would never qualify are still never going to qualify. But it comes down to my second question. Now, say you get somebody who's, they go through the program and say they're doing the 10%. So they come up with 5, built into the rental cost, they're saving another 5. What happens if they can't close? Say we do it over, what's the duration? Are we doing this over 5 years? Are we doing this over 2 years?
That's an excellent question. So our contract, so before we go into it, we would say, okay, let's say you have 5% down, and in 4 years, let's again, simple math, you buy a $500,000 home. We would say that in 4 years, I mean, Jason, you could verify in 4 years, would it be at least worth $600,000? I would,
yeah.
right. I would say without question, it would be. It could be worth 8. We will say all we want is to sell it to you for 600. That is the lift. But in the meantime, we will contribute back 15%. So you're going to get a $60,000 credit, which is 10% of the value. Anything that's above that is theirs. We do not participate in anything. So that when I say that we have everything in writing beforehand, we cap what we need. Anything above that is all their equity. And we've never come across a case where we have not been able to meet that. All the appraisals we've gotten, and Marlon, you would agree, you would have to get it appraised. You know, we're saying it's worth 6, but everything in the area is worth 8. So that 200,000 is
goes back to that. So it's actually a little bit more trial. I was under the impression that they just kind of forfeit their ownings completely.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. And to answer your question, if for whatever reason after the 3 or 4 years, we would then work with them to get them out sooner. The contract stays. In other words, I'll be clear. We're not in the business of owning homes. We want them to buy. So we would, if for whatever reason they could not close, but they still want the home, we would just be working extremely diligent to we have an in-house mortgage brokerage as well to work, and or Marlon, whatever, we would do whatever it takes, but we wouldn't just take the home and kick them out. Absolutely not. No, we wouldn't do that.
Okay. Let me.
I guess that's kind of written in there as well. But I do like the idea that the top end belongs to them, and you guys have a set amount that you're looking for as a return. I think that is a bit more transparent than what we've seen in the past, where I think some people have used this to take advantage of those that don't know. But I like the idea that you were quick to say, "Hey, no, we have a cap kind of set up."
Yes,
that's a little bit more reassuring, where it actually becomes a bit more of a viable option for first-time home buyers that unfortunately are just getting beaten out.
Yeah, and Jason, you're touching on what I heard earlier, which is, rent to own has a bit of a negative, bad rap, but it's like anything. I mean, you can turn any transaction into a bad rap, but if you're transparent and upfront, which I believe the only way to do that is to put everything in writing, make it as clear as possible, and get ILAs. ILAs is independent legal advice. We want them to make sure that they understand that they're buying a future price. Here's what the price is. It's fixed. You're going to be getting a credit. You're going to do, in other words, all you have to do is pay the rent, and the contract is fulfilled. That's all we're asking. It is a contract, guys. Let's be clear. Everyone needs to make money, but our purpose is that they buy us out. They buy the property from us.
Yeah, Mark, from an investor standpoint, I understand, the leverage aspect, but I really got to ask the question, because I'm thinking, if I'm a buyer, how do I know that this is actually for me? Because, I hear a lot of the numbers that you're throwing out, but how do I know that this is actually for me, other than the fact that I'm a first-time buyer? What are the hallmarks that I've got to have to know that this is something I should be asking? I should be asking our in-house Ninja or Delta Force over here about. How do we know that this is for me?
I guess the first indicator would be that you've already been turned down by a bank. Let's assume that you want to buy a home, and you went and you realized, oh my God, I got turned down. Let's say they go to Marlon, and Marlon says, look, you only have 5% down. I can't get you Schedule A bank. I could maybe do this. And you're realizing that there's a struggle to get financing, and for whatever reason, this particular home very much it's in the area, it's in the schools, there are many myriad of reasons why this particular home. So the first question is that you're having a hard time getting a mortgage. That would be the first one.
Okay. Right.
And Marlon, you can probably speak to that more, that you do come across people that get turned down, and you would know there's many reasons why, right?
Yeah. There's many reasons why. Typically, most of the files I've worked on in the past have ended up at alternative or B lenders, not at the A lenders. They're not big fans of refinancing the RTOs or rent-to-owns. So typically, they've ended up at the B lenders. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
definitely 100%.
They end up paying a lot, or So we try to bridge that financing gap so that they'd have the proper down payment at the end of the 3 or 4 years. Yeah.
And that's key, because typically when we did end up at the B lenders, they were still short money, so we had to place a private second behind it, right? And
Right,
that was
and now you got it
not
right.
very attractive, right? So I love that what your company is doing. I love that you guys are structuring from the front to the back. That's definitely what the industry needs for these type of products.
Yeah. And I believe that we're the first in Canada. Like, we're really a bank where we do both the first and the equity. You can go to our website, dwellhomeownership.ca, and it'll explain everything right there.
Perfect.
Love it. And so, Mark, what about location geographically? I mean, does that play into the rent to own space?
It does. It does to a degree. Just simply for the fact, again, if I haven't said, I'll say it. We're in a partnership with these homeowners, so we would look at the GTA. Absolutely, our criteria is mostly towns that have 20,000 people or more, just because we know that there is a more robust market. If there's 20, if you have a town of 20,000, there's probably a few industries. There's probably some small towns. Let's pick a town that I happen to know intimately called Barry's Bay, Ontario. It's got 1,200 people. You can buy a house in there for 150,000. There is not really much of an economy up there. We would probably turn that deal down. So we're probably 80% of southwestern Ontario. And again, I would say the only criteria is 20,000, and that includes out west. I mean, there's towns that are doing very well that have 20,000 people, and we've done opportunities out there for sure.
Okay, so can you just give us a quick idea? Let's say we're talking Hamilton, Ontario, and Marlon has someone that has been turned down by the bank, and they've got a 10% down payment, but they can't seem to get the financing for it. But they're looking in Hamilton. Where do you come in?
Well, we would come in usually because there's a speed issue. And I mean, Jason, you just mentioned before we went on, there's bidding wars going on. And a lot of this type of financing, usually there's a lot of paperwork. We can move very quickly. We can move in under 30 days. We can close on a property in under 30 days if we have, obviously an inspection report and very basic due diligence. We're okay. But if the person has 10% down, we would close the property for them. Again, we would create the contract and say, you pay this, you're going to pay this at 4 years. We're going to credit you back this amount. And it's probably going to be 20%, because we do like to see a 10% lift in the down payment, because we know that that's at least the minimum we need to see. So that's really how I'd say was we move quickly, and we every deal, every opportunity has to resolve the problem. The problem is they don't have enough down. Well, then let's fix that problem. Let's get them into the home they want. Let's fix the problem. And nothing happens overnight. It does take time for these things. And so we do it slowly. Real estate, there's a great saying. I mean, real estate, people think you make money. Yeah, those are great days where you flip and you instantly make, 50,000. I come from the world where there's this fella in New York who says you count pennies in real estate, because every day you make a couple pennies. And that's really what real estate is about. So that's my interpretation.
Mark, quick question. So typically, how long is would you say, the average contract? So from the buyer entering it with you to when they close, how long are we really looking at?
Just so great question. Typically it's 4 years. We have found that the 4 year mark, the numbers seem to work. 3 years, we've done 3 years, we've done 5 years. But it's typically 4 years, where they would be living in the home. Any renovation they can do. In other words, they're going to be buying the home from us.
Owners, really.
Yeah. So let them fix and do whatever they want. But at the end of the 4 years, typically is when we want to be exited for sure.
Okay, fantastic. Because I think that's a good time. And again, I'm a novice to this. When I entered into the business, back in 2012. Rent to own was very big, but it had a very ugly annotation to it too. Many of us just stayed away from it because they said, "Hey, let's avoid the problem." It's much easier to avoid a pothole than try to drive over it, right?
For sure.
And we were under the impression there was a lot of guys doing 1 year ones, where it was like, "Hey, in a year," and what they were doing, and from what I understand, is like, "Hey, say the average rent for the area was like 1,000, they would charge 2,500, and they'd be banking that." And then most of these guys would fall from the cracks because they could never afford the 2,500.
Right.
That comes down to, hey, if they could afford the $2,500, they probably would have had the down payment together.
Yeah.
So I think these deals were structured in some cases, almost preying on the failure of the buyer. And that's what we really want. I think that's what's echoing in everyone's head, is that, hey, like, what is this? So it's kind of nice that you're able to clear that up and show us that, hey, no, this is all going to be explained to you. It's not for everyone, definitely, but it's a good for you to have this as an option.
You know, Jason, you're certainly touching on a subject that I'll be the number one question that I'm sure you guys are unaware of, which is how much is the monthly rent? Because that you just touched on it. Is people would say our biggest hurdle, our biggest concern from all our clients is that they say, well, I can get 1% at the bank. And I secretly say, no, you can't. That's why you're talking to us. So let's stop the idea that you're going to pay $1,000 a month. So we try to be probably. So let's say a 2-bedroom apartment rents for $2,500. The value of it is $800,000. Condo, I could tell you right now, $800,000 is going to be about $3,200 a month. Yep. They're paying $2,500 anyways in rent. And again, you know, Jason, I'm trying to be very quick on it's going to be more, but you got to realize that $800 is the amount that goes back to them as a credit. So the real net rent is almost the exact same as normal rents. The addition is the heartache. That additional amount is the part that hurts. It's the part that you gotta save money. And sorry, that's the part that hurts. I got gray hair for a reason. I had to save and work hard. You know, there is no magic formula to saving money and getting in real estate. When you look at people that own all kinds of properties, you think, oh, they were lucky. No, the harder I work, the luckier I get. So you got to do the same thing, you know, where saving money is hard. So Jason, I want to be very clear to everyone listening. Yes, it's going to be a little bit more, but we'll explain where all the money goes and why the money goes. So, you know, we're in a partnership. It's a partnership. It's a business.
Well, I think that's the best way to approach it. I think that's what it is that transparency is always key in these things. I find a lot of the times that people understand what's going on, they can't really complain. And if they do, they complain at the beginning and get it resolved, as opposed to being into a contract like 2 years into it and then complain.
Right.
So, I think it's a good idea. Like I would recommend to anybody right now entering in this market.
It's basically for savings is what it is, right? And which is what they need. So, you know, I also do play a double role as a financial advisor. So typically when I came across these clients, I always said to them, I wish you had came to me at the front end of the agreement, because I would have told you would have been short in 4 years and I could at least show you how to save the money or invest it or whatever it was. Perfect. So you've kind of melded the two worlds together,
right?
Which makes it a great product.
Right. And I sometimes have to step in and give them the bad news that they have to save money. Sorry. You know, you're not just going to see magic things appear. You're going to work hard. You're going to get the home. You're going to pay a reasonable rent. But guys, you know, for sure. I mean,
hey, Mark, let me stop you for a second, because we've talked enough about the buyers here and the complaining. I don't want to hear about that. I want to hear about the investor side now. Can you tell me why the investors want to do rent-owns?
For sure. So that's really why we started it. Is I do work on the other side, which is the investment side. So we offer two packages for investors. We have a private first mortgage that pays 7.5% in a first position. I think Marlon and I know all you guys are involved in this. I think that's a reasonable first for a home. I know that Marlon, if you're involved in investment products, you know, sometimes you're seeing rental properties and investment homes. You know, you're looking at first well above that, and seconds is really where 8 and 12% starts. So we're offering a first on a home, a single family home at 7.5%. That's on the debt side. And for the equity guys, for the guys that really want to make money, we pay 16%. 16% is the preferred. In other words, my company makes zero until that 16% is paid. So that's called a preferred share. So after that, then my company makes equals 16. And to be clear, there's even some left after that, which we then split 50-50 with the investors. Does that make, like, I'm speaking from the investor side. So the equity, by all means, equity is the highest risk money. Therefore, equity makes the most. The mortgage, I believe, is fair. It's a 7.5% first.
Yeah. And what's the max loan to value on that? 80%?
80% loan to value.
80%.
What we go.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow, Mark. blown my mind. So many different things there to talk about, and so many more questions. Definitely looking forward to anyone. If you've got any more questions for Mark, you can feel free to reach out to Mark. Mark, where's the best place for people to get a hold of you?
Yeah, Mark at coreadvisory.ca, or as I mentioned, dwellhomeownership.ca. It sort of explains it. But yeah, give me a call. I'm working with a lot of real estate agents right now that are having difficulty closing. We have a really good success. I mean, most of the times deals get declined, not because we weren't able. It's just that the person going into it gets different advice, maybe gets someone to help them out. But yeah, we're open for business for sure.
So guys, if you're looking to explore this market, if you're curious, is this something that will work for you? If this will help you get into a home, or if you're an investor and you want to get to know more, then of course you can get a hold of Mark, or of course get a hold of any one of the wizards here in Ontario real estate and investing here on Magic Mondays. Guys, Mark, thank you so much for joining us, and on behalf of Jason and Marlon, this has been a great chat, and we look forward to many more to come.
Thanks, guys.